Welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways. This is coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 Part 3. And please excuse the sunlight and the lighting and everything. I'm still dealing with Nevada in the middle of fall. So right now we need to talk about some of the potential alternate effects, alternate scenarios, alternate behaviors, okay? What kind of things are we looking at now that would make a significant difference in how the disease is handled and how the virus is handled? So the first thing I want to look at is the difference. Let's go back to the difference between the disease and the virus for a moment. The virus itself is something that doesn't look like a situation where we've never had anything like this before in history. It's true that the way we're handling it and the way we're measuring it does, but we've got a virus that does not cause a disease in the majority, vast majority, overwhelming majority of populations that have an active lifestyle, are outdoors a lot, have sufficient vitamin D. So, what does that mean? You know, it's kind of hard to say anything about whether or not this sort of thing happens every couple of centuries, every couple of decades, whatever, because this is the first time we've dealt with a population, significant population, with the kind of communication we have, where there's that many people indoors, that many people old, that many people. You know, this is something where you've got a case fatality rate of 2.5% in the United States, and most of that is people who are very old and indoors a lot. No active lifestyle. We tend to put old people inside and keep them there. And when old people get a sniffle, we tend to put them inside and keep them there. We have a very weird model of healthcare socially. You know, you get sick, what you do is you stop moving, you go into a small, stuffy room with bad airflow, and you huddle. And then maybe you survive, and maybe you don't. That's a very strange way to handle illness, especially respiratory illnesses. It just makes no sense at all. You know, sitting outside on a bench in the sunlight, doing breathing exercises, makes a lot more sense to me. So it's very possible that this virus is not unique, okay? The family of viruses that we're dealing with, the jump from animal to human, that kind of thing seems to be more or less regular. You know, we see it happen every so often. And now, you know, the media, the smart asses in the media would be like, well, if you just stopped eating bats, you'd never have this problem. If you just stopped believing that you could get bigger testicles with this powdered horn. Okay, so yeah, traditional medicine is bad, whatever, okay. But there's no reason to think that this hasn't been happening the entire time we've been a species. And that brings up the possibility that the problem here is that we have changed how we behave, how we live in a significant fashion. And, you know, some of it's going to be diet related. But how much of it is really diet related? I don't know. You know, I know bunch of fat, beer-bellied biker dudes who just don't worry about this and don't get it. No one's dying because they're just out doing stuff. And that's the thing, is they're out doing stuff. So I don't know how much diet really matters, you know? I'm not going to say it doesn't. I don't think anyone can say it doesn't. That there's no part of this diet. Our diet is closely related to a lot of chronic illness, and it's very possible that those chronic illnesses are going to increase the expression of the disease COVID-19, which is caused in the presence of the virus SARS-CoV-2. All right, so we've got that. What's next? What's the next thing to look at? What's the next step? It's possible that this has been going on forever, and that the only reason it's notable is our behavior. Well, we do know that the outdoors sufficient vitamin D, which is once again a hormone produced in your skin, it's better to produce it than to try to take it. This is kind of like any other steroid hormone. You don't. The healthiest way to handle your insulin is to have a proper insulin response, not to just try to do it with a supplement cocktail. Okay? Testosterone, estrogen, all the steroid hormones, all of the cholesterol-based hormones, they're the same basic idea here. Okay? So we know that being active and having sufficient natural vitamin D is a huge factor in either not being able to see the SARS-CoV-2 virus in your body, or not having the expression of the disease. Okay? It looks like you may not get the virus if you are outdoors and healthy. But there are positive tests, so it's possible that you're carrying the virus and you do have the virus, but you're not expressing the disease. So we know that this is the case. How much of an effect that has, that we're going to be debating that for a long time. And I have a strong feeling that the politics are the most important part of that, what you're going to be allowed to know about that. So maybe the lockdown idea is actually a negative, a net negative, and a worse way of handling coronavirus response than getting people outside, like a physical fitness, outdoors, get a tan, go hiking program may have a better positive effect than lockdowns and masks. It's something to consider, okay? It's something to consider when you look at policy decisions. And you have an effect on policy decisions. We are, at least in the United States, we have the ability to have some input. It may or may not do us any good. We may or may not get our way, you know. And a lot of people say that the government is unfair just automatically if you don't get your way. And that's okay. But you do have an input. And a lot of people together have an input. So think about the policy decisions and think about what should be happening. On a personal level, as an actual individual person, the evidence is pretty clear that sufficient vitamin D and adequate exercise, outdoors exercise, and we're not talking about lifting weights necessarily, we're just talking about going out and doing stuff. Outdoor activity and sufficient vitamin D are probably the best thing you have available to you, regardless of what the government's decide to do or not do, or regardless of what the authoritarian response is to try and control the spread. And that's the thing that they're still on about, is like the spread. We haven't stopped the spread. Well, you're not going to stop the spread, and no amount of trying to shut everything down is going to work. Okay, if you want to stop the spread, you're going to have to there's no way to do it. There's no survivable way to do it. So you need to look at what you can do, the art of the possible in this instance. Okay? And on an individual basis, family basis, community, tribal level, group level, get outside, man. It's okay to be a little more isolationist and say, hey, you're in my group and these people aren't, so I'm not going to sit close to you. That's fine. I mean, aside from social fabric, I don't think it's going to hurt anything. I don't know if it's going to help anything, though. You know? Definitely getting out as a group and doing stuff is the best thing you've got available to you. I can't find any evidence that shows that masks help enough to make them the primary importance. I can't find enough evidence that says that social distancing itself makes enough of a difference. I can find quite a lot of evidence that says that being outdoors, moving around outdoors, and sufficient vitamin D make a difference. So that's where I'm at. I'm trying to not get unpersoned by saying go against the World Health Organization or the medical experts or Dr. Fauci or whatever disaster guy you've got this week. But, you know, whatever else they're saying, the best thing that you can do based on the evidence we have is get outside and move around. Don't wear sunglasses all the time. Don't wear long sleeves all the time. That's all I got. And remember, it's really important. Remember that when you're reading, when you're getting information about this, there is a virus and there is a disease. The virus is not the disease, and there's a lot more to the disease than the presence or absence of the virus. That is it. That's 3 parts. That's like 45 minutes of crap. And I'll probably get knocked off of all of the social media for posting it. So stay sideways, and I'll see you wherever you can find me.